What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of the Netflix original movie, The Old Guard 2. This is a sequel that is directed by Victoria Mahoney. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is a spoiler discussion that I was not expecting to do for The Old Guard 2, but we are going to do it anyway, so be aware, watch the movie first, and then come back for the spoilers. So Old Guard 2 is a sequel to the Old Guard movie that came out in 2020. It takes place 6 months later and sees Andy and her crew going on a mission to, take down a bad guy because they're trying to find out who is out in the world trying to do bad things. And they discover the first immortal, that is Discord, played by Thurman, is alive and kicking and still just doing her thing, as well as being a bad guy. Well, in the process of everything, we have to bring back characters like Booker, who of course was exiled, and we also have characters that are introduced, like Henry Golding, who plays Tua or whatever, Hawk Tua, and they basically are there to stop an immortal threat from taking down the society that is, I don't know, the world, I guess. It's one of those types of films. But we also have a Quinn, who we saw in the teaser sting for the original movie, now in the mix, who is a old friend, or I guess maybe love interest to Andy, Andromeda, whatever her name is. And that is The Old Guard 2. It is a sequel. And apparently, spoiler alerts, a continuation or a part 2 of a trilogy that is going to happen if this movie does well. As you can tell from my serious excitement of this movie, it is a movie I was not really looking forward to because I was not a huge fan of the first one. But I always like to give sequels and stuff, especially when they're giving the screeners a try. Who knows? It could be better than the first one. And, it has a good cast. It has, Chiwetel Ejiofor and Charlize Theron and, Marwan Kenzari and Thurman and Henry Golding and a whole bunch of other people, Kiki, Layne. And it's not like it's the worst movie I've ever seen. It's just, I don't know, the first one just didn't hit me very well. I know it was more like than I want to admit, but I was not a huge fan. So the second one is clearly Amazon knowing that the first one did well, and so here we have a second one. And before I get to the spoiler details that really made me mad, this movie's bad. This movie's real bad. It is boring. The action is poorly conceived. It is a movie that clearly didn't have an ending. Clearly they wanted to make this kind of like a Back to the Future Part 2, Part 3, or any of those types of movies, like the Matrix Reloaded, Matrix Revolution style, but they didn't film this back to back, or at least they're not saying that they filmed it back to back, because it's a really weird movie. It ends in a really weird place. And it's a very boring movie with very stupid tropes, and it ends in a very stupid place, and characters do stupid things, and it reveals more about the Immortals than wanted to talk about. And maybe this movie will get garnered better reviews, because some of the action is fine. You can definitely tell is not up to the snuff of the first movie. And some of the healing abilities, like especially the first scene, the first action sequence, are fun to watch, to be fairly honest. They're interesting, and they're unique, and like there's a car chase, which is really cool. But when Quinn comes back into the mix, who is just like, I don't know if she's like a love interest or just a good friend or somebody who was a good companion to Andy's character, it feels like they have to have conflict. And I mean, yes, she was put in this tomb for 5 centuries or whatever, but when she's back, it just feels like it goes into very old stereotypical territory, and it's just, I don't know, this movie just not very good, to be fairly honest. I found myself really bored by it, as I've said, and even like the action sequences, just, they're not capable enough. I don't blame Victoria Mahoney for wanting to do a movie like this, because it helps her status. But I think that the material here, I think everything about it just doesn't work for me. And then it leads, like I said, to a very stupid conclusion that we'll talk about in a second. But that's kind of where I see my review of this movie. Once again, Charlize Theron is a very capable actress. She's very good at what she does. But this is one of those franchises I think she's just got paid a lot of money for. And whether she feels committed to it, I mean, I guess she does, because she did a sequel. It remains to be seen how much she really enjoys this franchise, but all the characters here are very standard by the book type characters. You know, Chiwetel Ejiofor just doesn't really get much to do in this movie. He's just kind of boring. You know, the other two characters are, they've been around forever with each other, and they really just feel like standard by the book characters. And Uma Thurman is, as hard as she's trying to be a bad guy, she's just not very good at it in this movie. And Henry Golding is like the guy you go find for information, and he's just kind of there. Everybody's just kind of there. It's just a kind of movie that you're just there for. So that's kind of my review of this movie, my as non-spoiler as I can be. It's just not a very good movie. It's not a very much fun time, and it's not recommended for my opinion, at least. So there you go. And my spoiler discussion for this movie is there's a reason that they waited so long to give us this for review. It ends on a cliffhanger. It ends with Quinn and Andy going after her friends who are now captured by Discord or Data Link or whatever you want to call Uma Thurman's character. It kills off Booker because you have to have these type of movies kill off at least one character that becomes, reinstated back in the group or, kind of redeems themselves. And it allows Andy to become immortal again because now there's a new kind of trope in this movie where if you're immortal and you kill yourself or you injure yourself, you can make somebody else immortal. Yes, like a really stupid logical reasoning to make Andy immortal again. Discord's reasoning for why she's doing it is because she's immortal. And it's just really stupid because she actually rescues Quinn to pit her against Andy to basically capture her friends in like the most obscene like ending to a movie ever. And it's a lot of the very tropey, very by the book stuff. It doesn't make any sense. It's boring. The action sequence in the beginning is cool because you can see like one of the characters' legs get broken and then heal itself back again. One guy gets his finger cut off and he's able to put it back together. Some of that stuff's cool, but it's very standard action oriented stuff. It's a movie that you can tell is just a release for July. It feels like a very rushed movie, to be fairly honest, which is pretty crazy because the last movie came out like 5 years ago, right? Like during the pandemic. Charlize Theron, as hard as she's trying, just isn't really interesting in this movie at all. She's very conflicted when Quinn comes back, who, like I said, I guess is her love interest or whatever she is. The stuff that they show in the flashbacks with like how Andy and Quinn were basically captured and Quinn was put in that tomb are bland, and now introduces like Discord and Tua into the mix of the same scene, and they're just kind of looking, and Discord's basically, why they call her Discord is the most 2020s name I've ever seen in my entire life, for one. But she decides that all immortals need to die because of reasons. There's no logical reasons or reasoning. They almost need a guy to explain everything in the third film, which is, I'm assuming there's going to be a third film. A lot of this is just going after scenes, going after people, talking to those people, arguing with those people. Sometimes we have a fight sequence, bring back the guy who got exiled because we need to do that. And it becomes a mishmash of just tropey stuff, and I just really didn't appreciate that at all. And it's not like the worst thing that ever happened. It's a first world problem. It's a movie, but it kind of insults my intelligence when this is your sequel to a movie that was semi-successful with what it was trying to do. And even I can kind of forgive that movie for being not really that great, because this is just 10 times worse. It really is. But Discord needs to use Nile to basically capture all these people, and Nile's apparently the last scion or whatever nonsense she is. And she can actually make people mortal again. She makes Quinn mortal, and with the thrust of her arm, and she has a tattoo, like of course Discord has, and everybody's captured. Booker dies. And it basically leads to a sequence at the end. Discord has caught and captured all of Andy's team, used nitrogen to basically freeze them, and puts them on a helicopter. And you think, oh, okay, she's going to fly off. That makes sense, whatever. That makes logical sense. She's captured, and very typical, atypical ending to a story. But no, she waits for Andy, who runs out, and she's just... Discord's just running around or flying around in a helicopter and falls to the ground and fights Andy's character. It's like, why didn't you fly away? What are you doing? So Andy and Discord fly, and that's when we learn that Discord is mortal, and she's very mad about that. Like, this is exposition you could learn later on. Maybe, I don't know, maybe she finds something, but it's like, oh, this is how we are going to end our movie, with Discord being mortal, and they have to have a fight sequence. Okay. And Discord's gonna go, I'll see you in the next movie, as she flies away after stabbing Andy. Or shooting Andy. Okay, and then we're gonna have Andy go to the library and read stuff that will be exposition for the next movie. And yeah, she's gonna help heal Quinn, and then they're gonna fight, and then the movie's gonna end with a cliffhanger. Okay, so yeah, that's how the movie ends. They yeah, it's stupid. One, why do we need a cliffhanger for this movie when there was no idea that there was going to be a third movie? And if there is a third movie, are we going to have this cliffhanger for like 4 years until the new movie comes out? Why do we even need to have the inclusion of a third movie? Just end this movie. Like, end it in a good place. Don't end it on a cliffhanger when you don't even know if you're going to be making the third movie. It's just, why? Why do they do this? Why do they feel like they need... Oh, I know why. Because they need Netflix subscriptions. You know, I'd always appreciate when I get screeners, but I always get frustrated when I see things like this, because it's typical filmmaking when it comes to the conceit of like the executives and stuff like that. This is just a really bad movie. It really is. It makes no logical sense. The characters don't make any sense. They don't do anything that's interesting or intriguing. And I feel bad for Victoria Mahoney. She does the best she can, but it's just... This is not a good movie. It really isn't. It's a very frustrating movie to watch. And I don't know what else to say, but that's The Old Guard 2, the apparently second film in a 3-part film with a very boring bad guy and very boring stereotypes. And, you know, at least the first action sequence was fun and engaging, but this is not at all as it goes along. So I don't know. It's a boring ass movie. I hated it. It's one of the worst things I've seen this year. And I am not looking forward to the third film, which I'm sure will be just as boring and bad. So there you go. But with that said, that is going to be my spoiler discussion for the middle film of the Old Guard trilogy, apparently, or the fourth. I don't know what this is. Old Guard 2. That's my review and my spoiler discussion. So I do appreciate you watching. As always, thank you so much. In the comments below, what do you think of this movie? Spoilers, abound. Tell me why. But let me know. Otherwise, if you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out, guys.